To the Rocky Outcrop Show, where recently we've been discussing psychology and how you're trading for traders who've got actual skin in the game. So this episode today should help you, and you should be going away from this today with something that will be help you. Oh, sugar! Stop making noise. I'm playing my own stream in the background. Shush me. Haha, gosh. Wow, these things are sent to try us, hey? Welcome everybody. Just start that section again, shall I? Welcome to the Rocky Outcrop Show. I'm Rocky Outcrop, and this is where we have been discussing the psychology of trading recently. And in this episode today, we're going to be talking about resilience and self-talk. So at the end of today's episode, you will be going away with some knowledge which will help you become a better trader. It'll help you become a better trader this evening and as well for the rest of your trading career. This is the sort of thing which will really give you that edge that you need in the market over not only everybody else that's trading, but also over all of the previous versions of yourself in the past. Welcome to the show, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. It's very good to see everybody out there. Thanks to XD, who's just gifted 5 Rocky Outcrop memberships. So David Stevens, Banana Fridge, Nick Gerber, Scott Hicks, Nathan Perlitish. Welcome to the family. It's great to have you on my show, on my channel. Sorry, you will find members only videos such as all of the previous psychology videos that we've done in this little series. So it's well worth being a member of the show. If you are not one already, then you're missing out. But thanks to XD, those people have got membership for at least the next month. That's fantastic. I hope you choose to continue on and subscribe yourselves thereafter by hitting the join button on my channel. So today's show, folks, we're going to dive into fairly soon, and just giving everybody a moment to arrive because, of course, people have been waiting for me to go live, and thank you very much for waiting. It is massively appreciated. Everybody's been waiting for me to go live, so they're just going to have to kind of tune in over the next couple of minutes. And while we wait for them to arrive, I have a couple of questions for you which will help kind of frame the context of what we're talking about today, and will, you know, get our minds working, get the juices flowing with regards to today's topic, which of course is self-talk. And just so everybody knows as well, just quick sort of housekeeping, is that we will be doing breaks in today's show. Okay, so I'm giving everybody, while I'm chatting just here, a couple of minutes to grab yourself a drink, grab yourself a wee, whatever you need to grab. Go grab it and come back here so that you can sort of relax, focus, give it your attention, and then in a wee while, we'll have a little break where you can go off, nip off to the loo, make yourself a fresh cup of tea, whatever you need to do. And we'll do a couple of those throughout this evening so that you've got an opportunity to take a breath so that you can take it all in. Because I'm aware that when we do these shows, they can be quite an intense process for people, you know, especially because we're talking about psychology and asking people to reflect and think about themselves. So I've got a few questions here to ask people at the start of the show, and I want to see people dropping in answers into the chat box. So we'll try and do them fairly quick as well, so that you know, we'll not give everybody who's not here at the minute all night to join us. So I'll get through these questions fairly quickly, and the show this evening should, you know, last hopefully we get the main chunk of everything done in an hour, right? Hopefully we get it done in an hour, but we'll not be too upset if it takes 2 hours. I have my printer on here. It's waiting for data. It's flashing at me, waiting for data. So if you want to get in touch with me directly and kind of, you know, get around the chat box, then you can do so, no problem. Okay, so we've already been a few minutes of me kind of just welcoming everybody to the show. So people should have already kind of joined us. If anybody wants to leave a link in the Discord and say, hey, quick, come along now or whatever, then do that. That'll be appreciated, I'm sure. And if you're not a member of my Discord already, then be sure to join it. You can do that through discord.gg/rockyoutcrop. So hopefully somebody will put one over there in Trader Talk on the public side of the Discord so everybody can see a link to this show. That would be handy if you would do that. Somebody out there for me. Thanks so much. Right. So, okie dokie. So, have you ever caught yourself engaging in negative self-talk while trading? Pretty easy question, I think. I think it's a pretty good question and a necessary question, folks. Okay, so that's the first one I want to ask. Chuck a 1 in the chat box. Everybody's going to be honest, okay, here. So I'll start the ball rolling by putting a 1 in myself. I know that I have caught myself engaging in negative self-talk when trading. This can be anything from this sort of thing like, oh, why did you do this? You shouldn't have taken a risk, you know, or you should have, you don't deserve to be making this much profit right now. It could be anything. It could be anything, you know. It could be anything. It could be, oh, you should have spent that money on something else, whatever, anything. So let's just know if you've done that, you know. So yes, I can see lots of people in the chat box. You have caught yourself engaging in negative self-talk. Well, I have as well. Right, so let me just ask you then a broader question to everybody who's put a 1 in there. What strategies do you use to combat negative self-talk in trading, right? What strategies do you use? Do you use any strategies, right? This is not a question that can be answered with just a 1. If anybody has any strategies that they use, then write it out in there. Now, I'm not expecting everybody to have strategies, but it's just it just goes to show, you know, when there's a whole bunch of people that are putting in 1 right now, I suspect that there will be significantly less people who actually have any strategies that they use to combat that when trading. And I think this is kind of revealing just now, showing, you know, how much people are aware that they do negative self-talk, and kind of jutting that up against the idea of whether or not anybody actually takes any steps to combat it, which is what I mean about how we're kind of framing the show today. I've got an answer from Sarah who says she cries. That's one way of combating negative self-talk when trading. Okay, so one example, for instance, would be, and if you've read my tweets, and you really should have, by the way, folks, you really should be subscribed to my Twitter. So go over there to Twitter, twitter.com/Rocky_outcrop, and follow me so you can read my tweets. One example of one way to combat negative self-talk is to go and just change your context, change your environment. You know, it could be that you're sat at your desk trading. This is where I do my trading. I have a big screen here, I have another screen there, I've got a laptop, I've got all stuff all around me, and you know, sometimes I just get up and walk away from the situation, come back 5 minutes later, and I'm in a completely different frame of mind. So there's one example. You know, there'll be other things that we talk about in today's show. Okay, so we've got Purpley outside who dances or sings. Fantastic answer. Fantastic answer. Bit of moving around and singing. Great answer. Well done, Purpley outside. Great one. Let's see. Walk away for a while. There we go. That's the same sort of thing as what I was saying, for a while / days, even from you Booge in the chat there. Part-time player says, look for confirmation bias that isn't real regarding the bad trade. Nice specific example there from part-time player. Really kind of digging in to psychology there. Cool answer, man. Got a couple of layers in that one, looking at confirmation bias that isn't real regarding the bad trade. So could be say, for example, the you've got sort of a confirmation bias, like, you know, it's the yesterday, like say today there was you know, in this hypothetical day that you're trading, there's there's the Fed meeting, and they're discussing the latest CPI sort of core price inflation numbers, and they've come in with and you spent all day yesterday thinking that it would come in as a hot number, and then the numbers released and it's a cool print, and you know, it's below expectations. That's what cool print means. Hot print in terms of these things means it comes in above expectations. So then it's a cool print, and you then think to yourself, you know, and you're hitting short, and the stock markets are going up, and you think to yourself, hold on a second, I'm actually, you know, taking all these trades off of yesterday's bias, which isn't even actually relevant today. Talking about CPI numbers, by the way, the UK surprise number. Can I put a guess in the chat here? Guess the UK inflation number. I know that most people watching are from the United States, so this is a bit of a hard one for you. Some people out there are indeed from the UK though, so you might have an idea. What was the UK inflation number today that came out? I think the figures were released today for the UK inflation number. See if anybody can guess what that was. See what anybody can guess what that is. Other answers we've got here is I write it down in my journal for future lessons, not to forget bad feeling and how I acted upon it. Good one. Another answer is I have a list of beliefs. I read through it to reset myself. If I do find myself getting away from myself, that's fantastic. Dragonfly, you'll be one of the few people out there that've got that sort of thing. Jake D says, fighting that negative self-talk today. Good day for this show. Excellent, Jake. Man, you know, we all do. I think it's a big admission on your part to say that, but I think the truth is that we all have to fight that all the time. Got tissues around here if anybody gets too upset, just ask me for a tissue. You know, what we got to do is to be mindful of these things, and it can happen to anybody on any day. It can happen to people throughout the day, numerous times a day. It could happen to you, could happen to me, could happen to anybody. So it's cool that we've got somebody out there in the world who's, you know, this is specifically the right timing for this episode. So let me just see then, after that, let's now reflect and say, you know, do you think that self-talk affects your performance in trading? Let's see, because a lot of people out there might think, you know, that they trade and it doesn't affect their self-talk. You know, self-talk doesn't, you know, that they could trade and it wouldn't matter what they were thinking. That, you know, that's a lot of people might think that. I think that if we weren't having this episode and you just ran up to somebody on the street and says to them, does self-talk affect your performance when trading? People would probably be inclined to say, no, it doesn't. But I think that if I ask all of you there, let's see, definitely yes, says TradeSpot. And let's see in the chat, Crackrock reminding us all that we are the best, especially, it's very, very true, some positive self-talk from Crackrock. Thanks so much. Jumping the gun a wee bit though, we're not ready to be positive. We're all here to be negative right now. By the way, on that note of positivity, do drop a like button, you know, a bit of the old self-talk. Let's all talk to YouTube and say like on this video if you haven't already. So yeah, right, definitely yes. We're getting a few yeses in here, so people definitely do think that it does affect your performance when trading, so that's good to know. One last question for you, okay folks, one last question for you, and then I'll give everybody a moment to grab themselves a drink, have a wee, and then we'll do a bit more of this chit chat. Okay, so I've given everybody a good start to the show. We're all thinking along the same sort of lines, okay? You know, so you don't need to run off and get yourself a drink just yet. We've got one last question to ask, then we'll have a second to get a drink, and I'll grab myself one as well, because I'm realizing now that I really do need one. Have you ever tried using positive self-talk in your trading? Right, that's the next question. Have you ever tried using positive self-talk in your trading? And a supplemental to that one, if you don't mind, if so, did you notice any difference in your performance? Okay, so I think there's a lot of ones. Put out a 1 if you have, but put a 2 in the chat if you've not actually tried to use positive self-talk when you're trading. You know, it could be that you might think to yourself that real men don't talk to themselves, right? Real men. If I had any balls, here's some negative self-talk. If I had any balls, if I was a real man, then I wouldn't need to talk to myself, because real men, you know, they're just the quiet, silent types. That's negative self-talk, isn't it? But you can see how easy it is to do it. How many people, see some 2s in here, seen some 2s, right? Nope. Let's see. So if you chuck a 2 in the chat there, if you've not. Now, if anybody has, did you notice any difference in your performance? All right, so there'll be 1 or 2 people. So they've got Ubooj. I don't know how to pronounce your name, buddy. Uboogie. Is that it? Let's call you Boogie. You're called Boogie from now on. Do you boogie? Yes, I boogie. So, did you notice any improvement in your trading then? Death and Banana Fridge is looking for sort of specifics during the trade. Yeah, during the trade, because the trade, if we include in terms of the trade, you know, the sort of the patience element before you get into the trade, and then you know, the kind of all of the complexities around trading. We'll just include all of that in with it, right? And I want to know, did it make a difference for you? Okay, I wish my brain would stop talking to itself sometimes, says the Boogie. Well, that's a question actually I wanted to ask people as well, so just to kind of something for you all to think about when we're getting ourselves a drink and all that good stuff. Is like, do you have, you know, an inner voice, and what does your inner voice say when you're trading, and what does your inner voice sound like when you're trading? These are a couple of things I was going to ask people as well. And let's all go get ourselves a drink. We'll come back and I'll start telling you a little bit about self-talk, and we can do this process together of facing the fact that self-talk is a thing, that we all do it, and that there are tips that you can use to improve your own self-talk. That self-talk can lead to you growing your resilience, that all of this may put you outside of your comfort zone a little bit, but that's okay. And talking about these things and doing psychology stuff like this it can be difficult, right? It can be putting you outside of your comfort zone. So we can recognize that, be mindful as we're doing all this stuff. I'll come back in a second when I've got a drink. You've all got a chance to get a drink or go for a wee. See you in just a second. Okay, folks? So, did you see I was trapped inside the microwave earlier? Yep. I was trapped in the microwave. The microwave of self-doubt. My inner voice is smarter than me. I just don't listen. What a great comment. What a great comment that is, President. I know you're maybe just taking trying to joke. What a great comment that is. How insightful. You know, when was the last time anybody ever took a trade where they lost on it and or they didn't close it out, you know, didn't put in a stop loss or whatever and let it run against them, where they weren't talking to themselves and ignoring that voice inside? Okay, so I think one of the important things to talk about is to be able to kind of separate out, specifically with regards to trading, you know, and I'm just putting this out there sort of early on in the show here to say that there is a difference between sort of critical thinking, constructive critical thinking, and negative self-talk. Okay, so going through your trade, understanding what it was after the trade happened, and being able to bravely face yourself, get to know yourself a bit more, and the way that you talk to yourself and interact with yourself is really important, and to try and separate out the strands of just sort of being a good coach for yourself, or indeed that voice inside the president that's a better trader than she is, you know, trying to kind of learning when to listen to it, when it's telling you good sense and when it's just being negative self-talk. And we're going to be talking about here about the importance of positive self-talk for traders, and kind of, you know, going over the key points about that. So as we go through this, please bear in mind that I'm not telling you not to talk to yourself, and I'm not telling you to only ever say positive things to yourself, and I'm not telling you to never critique yourself or analyze yourself or say to yourself something like I could have done better there. I mean, that's okay to say to yourself, I could have done better there, because that's inherently positive. You know, it's recognizing the power that you have. A lot of people would maybe avoid that because they think that would come under the banner of negative self-talk, and it doesn't. It's being positive and being self-aware. So I wouldn't ever dissuade anybody from sort of those sorts of those sorts of self-critiquing statements. But I would say to somebody that saying just simply, "I'm not good enough," or I'm, it's, you know, it's all, it's you know, "I'm not good enough," is a negative statement for yourself, whereas "I could have done better" is a inquisitive, positive statement where you're trying to seek a bit of insight into yourself, and you can kind of separate those two things out. So just kind of put that out there at the start, that there's a difference between those things. I think you probably all would have known it, but I didn't want to kind of get halfway through this without having mentioned that, for just to be, for completeness sake, and for the sake of anybody who possibly is in a mode at the minute where you could be in a bit of a in a trough, and your brain might be wired that way to think along those lines, or to be so binary that you can't see the different shades of grey between sort of white and black. So there's an awful lot of complexity to being a human being, and to be a trader is one of the most complex things when it comes to that inner voice and how you speak to yourself. I wanted to just make sure that everybody out there can at least kind of admit to themselves that they do have an inner voice. You know, a lot of people would say as well that they only kind of think in pictures, or "I'm a very visual person, I just think about things in pictures, I don't really have an inner voice." And I would say to them that they do, they you know, because in the way that maybe perhaps you might think about something that you're going to say before you say it, or you don't have to necessarily be talking to yourself like, "Hello Rocky, oh hello me," you know, having a sort of dialogue like that. It could be kind of a broken dialogue, and it doesn't necessarily have to make sense to somebody outside of your own head, but it would still exist inside that, because, you know, you're a human being and that's how we all work. So I would just ask everybody to, you know, to think about for a second as well, what does their inner voice sound like when you're trading? And you might have kind of, you know, caricature types that you would apply to certain types of voices, you know, like the headmistress of your school who was really mean to you. You know, she had a particular way of speaking that was very harsh and critical. And then there was maybe your loving grandmother who was like, would always care about you and ask how you were, and would always talk to you in a positive tone of voice. And I just wanted to kind of throw a question out to people. Have you ever thought about the type of tone of voice that you use when you talk to yourself? And have you considered that you could use a more positive tone of voice while saying the same things? So, for instance, a trade goes badly and you lose some money because it hits your stop loss. Perhaps you didn't use the stop loss until it was too late, and you jumped in and you took a big loss on a trade or whatever. And you say to yourself, you did badly there, right? So I've already pointed out that that's a negative self-talk, and maybe you want to say to yourself, you could have done better. But both of those times I was using quite a kind of plain tone. And perhaps what you want to think about doing when you're talking to yourself is to use a more positive or caring tone just inside your own inner voice, where you would say to yourself, "Hey, you could have done better there, buddy." Sort of put an arm around your own back, sort of thing. So there's a way of talking to yourself, and it's not just about the words and stuff that you use, but it is, of course, about the tone of that you talk as well. And as traders, our inner voice can, or self-talk, can have a profound impact on our performance. Self-talk refers to the positive and the beliefs. Let me just see here. Sorry, get this scrolled up so it's on the same sort of screen so you can see when I'm reading from it. So here I am at this sort of section just here. So what's that look like for you guys? That's all right. You could zoom it in a bit more maybe. Okay, that's a bit better. Could I get one more? No, I can't get one more, so that's fine then. Right, so as traders, our inner voice or self-talk can have a profound impact on our performance. Self-talk refers to the thoughts and beliefs we have about ourselves, which can either be positive or negative. Positive self-talk can help us stay focused, motivated, and confident, while negative self-talk can undermine our abilities and lead to feelings of doubt, anxiety, and fear. So, on this article, it's not an article. This was something I was writing earlier on. It's actually a presentation. We'll explore the benefits of positive self-talk and provide tips on how traders can improve their self-talk. Right, that's what we're here to do. So I'm just reading in the chat box, and I can see people talking here to each other. Sugar, hang in there. What do you do to relax? Was Banana Fridge was asking Sarah what she does to relax. And or what activities do you find restful? And Jake, talking to Sarah, says that's a hard one. So let me just see what Sarah said. What do you do if you suspect serious chronic long-term mental burnout? Right, well, I mean, I think that that's the sort of thing that a lot of people probably actually have experience with. There's a couple of a lot of different things you can say. The fact is that you're not alone. That's a really big part of it. To realize that there's a documentary I'm going to watch soon that was shared to me by a member of the community there, called Combat Obscura, and it probably involves lots of that type of thing, showing you inside the front lines in Afghanistan, filmed by a United States Marine Corps person there who's a camera operator, and it's all at the front lines, seeing serious what it's really like to be in that extreme position. And a part of me hopes to find that there's a kind of a degree of catharsis that goes along with it. So you can grow through catharsis, seeing that other people have had similar experiences, learning from them, talking and stuff like that. But also, take a sort of break, take it easy on yourself. Self-compassion helps. What did Jake say? Jake said, that's a hard one. I've been there and seen others there. For me, I had to fight through the pain and move one foot forward each day. After a while, it becomes easier. Okay, great. Nice one. So there's good chat in there. So you know, folks, if you are watching this later on, to look at the live chat to see that there's real people with real life, real, experiences, and chatting with each other in there as we do these sorts of things. And there's some great advice coming along from people. So great, excellent. That's what we're here to talk about. That's my little introduction part there. And positive self-talk can improve your mental health and your performance. That's the big point that I want to talk about next here. So it's not just about your as a trader. You're looking to try and improve your performance, right? And good performance as a trader will lead to better mental health because you're enjoying your trading activity in life a lot more. But also good performance is a byproduct and part of good mental health. So you want to be improving one to improve the other as well. So focusing on mental health just on its own is a really good way to improve your trading performance, which is why in the Discord we've got so much space dedicated to kind of social stuff to allow people to breathe or to look at pictures of pets and stuff like that. These are all positive things. So research shows that positive self-talk can improve mental health and performance. For traders, this means positive self-talk can help us stay focused on our goals, maintain our composure during stressful situations, and bounce back from losses. Positive self-talk can also help us stay motivated, build our confidence, and maintain a positive attitude even when things are not going as planned. Building up your resilience and building up your mental health is going to involve compassion, and compassion is a proactive, engaged thing that you do. It's not just something that you feel, but you be and act and think compassionately, and that extends outwards and also in towards yourself as well. So I would really beseech people who for the likes of those out there who are got chronic long-term mental burnout, for example, to be compassionate proactively with themselves, with goals set in mind, so that you can see and track your improvement. Because negative self-talk can be, for instance, just headlines like "I am suffering from long-term mental burnout" could be something that you would say to yourself, and then 6 months could go by and you could just say that to yourself every single day. Whereas what would be far more preferable to that would be to say, I am improving from a place of long-term mental health burnout, and it has been a number of days since I've thought negatively about myself. It's been a number of days, and just to kind of have these affirmations which you can run through in the morning before you take trades, when you're standing there in the shower, before you go to bed, when you're lying there trying to sleep. There's so many opportunities and windows throughout the day for you to be able to do this that I would really encourage anybody who is diagnosing themselves as being not currently where they want to be compassionate passionate about the language that they use and to start engaging in positive self-talk, and then to track it and build upon that along the way. Komodosh has just donated a $5. Thanks so much. Off topic, but what are your thoughts on the new boom in online prop trading firms like FTMO? Do you think it's positive for traders to access larger capital, improve their risk management? Cheers. So yes, I think that that there's a lot of positive stuff out there in the world, and that if you want to get access to a larger amount of money to trade with, then, pardon me, online prop trading firms are a great way to go about doing it, but they're going to have extremely strict rules. So somebody whom I follow on Twitter and who I look up to as a trader is a guy called Peter Brandt, who recently said on Twitter that he thinks all of those companies are scams. And the reason why he said all of those companies are scams is because really, you know, the risk parameters that they set out there are in some ways too strict and too and almost, you know, sort of quote unquote unrealistic for a successful trader to be operating under those guidelines, or at least whether that's not the case. I think what he was intimating was that they're far more geared towards the success of the company as opposed towards the success of the individual, and that an individual who's then looking for success might find it quicker on their own. Now, that kind of ignores all of the kind of the boot camp element that goes along with these prop firms. So my sort of final word on it would be that if you do use one of these and find a good degree of success, then you will be able to transfer an awful lot of those skills that you get by subscribing to somebody else's guidelines onto yourself. And I would then go and recommend to anybody who thinks that those sorts of things sound good to check out my first video as part of this, where I talked about rules specifically, to go back 4 videos ago to look at the video all about rules and to try and apply these to your own trading, because rules which somebody else imposes on you are exactly all that is. Now, you could go and you could look at any of these online prop firms, never join up to one, but look at the rules that they have and apply them to your own trading. Things like closing out your trades at the end of the day, things like how much of a loss that you're able to take in any given trading session, how much of a loss you're able to take on your overall account, and all of these rules that if you applied to yourself would definitely help improve, or at least give you a framework to build upon. When you're doing all of it, I think you should involve positive self-talk as well. So you'd have to then say, the reason why I'm using this is so that I can improve as a trader, for instance. So what did you say here? So do you think it's a positive for traders to access larger capital and improve their risk management? Yes, I do. And I think that anybody engaging in that should proactively tell themselves that, you know, that that's what they're doing it for. And then to gauge and track their progress. And if they find themselves having to be critical and talk to themselves and say, look, this is actually just costing me. I'm not taking advantage of this larger capital. I'm not improving on my risk management in a way that works for me. Then, you know, that's okay to say that and to be sort of critical about it, but don't then go through one of these processes and fail, which is so common, you know, and then say to yourself, well, if you were to take apart an FTMO, for example, or one of the other online prop firms, and then you did an evaluation period and you then didn't actually manage to get the account because it was wiped out, you could be at risk of saying to yourself, oh, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, etc. And to be aware of things like I spoke about at the start, that these are very strict rules and it's not necessarily easy and it's not necessarily the best way to trade for any individual. You know, you can't just apply one size doesn't fit all. But so whether that works for you might be different to the next person, but that doesn't necessarily mean at all that they're better or worse than you are. I mean, you could be better, they could be better, who knows? That really is besides the point. It's all actually about whether or not you can aim to being better than you are tomorrow. So if everybody out there can aim to improve over their yesterday's self, they will improve, and that's all that can really be asked of anybody. Now, on the flip side, negative self-talk can harm mental health and performance. On the other hand, negative self-talk can harm your mental health and your performance. Negative self-talk can lead to feelings of doubt, anxiety, fear, which can make it difficult to take action and make sound trading decisions. It also makes it difficult to learn, and lots of studies out there show that you can't make good decisions. You can't learn well when you're under such pressure or fear. Or anxiety, and talking yourself into that zone can be very bad. And what you want to maybe do is take a few deep breaths and re-engage with yourself in a more positive manner, and then you'll be able to actually start to, at the very least, learn, because every failed trade is a learning opportunity, right? Negative self-talk can also lead to self-sabotage, where we intentionally make decisions that go against our best interest, and this is one of the sort of the critical thing that you always want to avoid, and never find yourself in a situation where you're making decisions to go against your best interest. Now, I think that negative self-talk can lead to the idea of like gambling. Now, one of the tips later on that I give people will be to use technical analysis. You might find yourself in a situation where you're losing at trades, and therefore you say to yourself that you can't use technical analysis, and then you adopt a gambler's mentality, in which case you may then end up completely, losing all of your money. And it might just come from a little kind of mental trip up that happened where you engaged in negative self-talk and started doing self-sabotage. So I specifically wanted to draw reference to that. Now, specifically when you're in a trade, I've got a number of tips for you. And after I've got through this little section of 5 tips, I think it is, then what I'll do is I'll give everybody another opportunity to go and get a drink or take a little break, have a breath and come back to themselves. So there's plenty of, so that everybody can focus and take part in what we're doing here. So let me know if that sounds good. Do, by the way, give me your feedback as to how this is going in the chat box as we go through, because I would like to know if things are going well for everybody. Although it will be hard to see that. So, if anybody sends a fax or whatever, that'd be appreciated as well. Specifically, when in a trade, okay, stick to your trading plan. That's the first rule. Stick to your trading plan. So before you open up a trade, you're going to want to have a plan, right? And before you, being patient is activity. Okay, one of the most profitable actions that you can take when trading is to do nothing. But that's kind of almost dismissive to say it in that way. But being patient is an activity. If you can think of it that way and positively self-talk to yourself, instead of saying things like, oh, come on, the markets aren't doing anything, this is boring. That's negative self-talk. You could say to yourself, I'm proactively being patient here. The opportunity, when it comes, is going to come to me. I'm going to be ready to respond to it. That's a big difference, okay? And if you can think and talk to yourself positively throughout your entire trading plan, including the part before you even get started, then you will be in a much stronger position. It's important for traders to have a well-defined trading plan and to stick to it. For example, if your plan includes setting a stop loss at a certain level, don't move it just because you feel nervous or believe the market will turn around soon. This can lead to losses that could have been avoided. Now, to go back to the rules lecture that we had, the first sort of class in the psychology series, one of the rules that you could put on your own trading is that you will never, ever, ever move a stop loss. And I think that's an ubiquitous rule that most traders who use stop losses, which is most successful traders, by the way, most traders that use stop losses, even if it's just a mental stop, the thing is that that you might not have it on your account because you're afraid of something like being whipped out in a liquidity event on a crypto exchange, which has got poor liquidity and often has extreme wicks caused by fat-fingered traders. One example of that is Kraken, who, if you look back at Kraken charts, you'll frequently see, despite the fact that being a top sort of 10 exchange and very liquid and a good exchange and all the rest of it, as far as I'm aware, often has these monstrous sort of wicks on the scam wicks, you could call them, or really big wicks. And during that period of time, if you're using a stop set to your last price as the trigger, then you might have got stopped out. So you might not be engaging in that. If you're then planning on managing your trade, perhaps by being aware, later on in the evening, that you're going to close it anyway at a certain point in time. So even those people will not move their stop loss. If they want to be successful, they'll not constantly compromise, because as soon as you compromise once, give yourself an inch in terms of moving your stop losses, then you will take a mile. That's what human beings do. That little crack that appears there, they drive a wedge right in, and before long they've moved their stop loss to places where they would never possibly have believed that they would have had it when they first started planning the trade. Next tip is use technical analysis. Now, I know that a lot of people watching along here will be members of the Discord, members of my community, even have already taken the technical analysis course, which is available through www.technicalanalysis.school. If you've not, then go along and check that out. I would recommend it. It is, I think, a very good course, in my opinion. And that you now, there'll be also a lot of people out there potentially watching this show right now because they see that it's a show about trading psychology, who don't use or might know technical analysis, but they don't actually use it. One of my phrases which I give to people when they just start, when they, you know, is one of the phrases I use here in the show an awful lot, is there's always time for technical analysis. And that's not an appeal for your watch time, although I really do appreciate everybody who's tuning in and watching right now and everything else. That's really good. There is always time for technical analysis, though, when you go to make a trade. A lot of people will think when they open up the charts that this is the 10 seconds that they need to put that trade in, that things are moving right now, right here, right now. This is the opportunity. If they don't take this opportunity right here, right now, then they'll never take this opportunity. And this is what they're in trading for, is to take an opportunity. So they're going to do a trade right here, right now. And I would say to those people that this isn't the 10 seconds, and the previous 10 seconds wasn't it either, and the next 10 seconds won't be it either. And the 10 seconds that happens in 10 years from now, that won't necessarily be it either. That there isn't a way to know. Anything can happen at any time in markets. And that should, one thing that should happen all the time in markets is that you should be making the time to do technical analysis, because it only takes a few minutes, especially when you get more and more and more proficient at it. You'll be able to do the technical analysis that used to take you 15 minutes to do, you'll be able to do it in 15 seconds. So you will get better at doing this, and there is always time for it. Technical analysis can provide valuable insights into market trends and help traders make more informed decisions. For example, if you see a support level being tested multiple times without breaking, this can indicate a potential buying opportunity. Rightio? So that's just a simple technical analysis thing which you might want to do to be able to improve your trading, and then that will help with your self-talk. You know, you will be going through it, saying to yourself, there's always time for it, that you've got the skills, this is a positive action that you're taking to be a positive person and to get the positive results on your trading account. And all of that reinforces the resilience. When you see that it works and it's helping you make better decisions, then you'll be more inclined to do it again next time, which means you'll have more confidence in your next trade, less anxiety in your next trade, and then that next 10 seconds, which could be the big 10 seconds for you in your trading life, well, there's a better chance of actually being that 10 seconds. Although, of course, like I say, it's never the 10 seconds. Be patient. Right? Being patient, this is why I alluded to this earlier on. Trading requires patience and discipline. Don't rush into trades just because you're eager to make a profit. Wait for the right opportunities to present themselves. For example, if you see a stock you're interested in, but it's trading at a high price, wait for the dip in the market to buy in. Right? That couldn't sound more simple, being patient, but it's actually very difficult. And that's why I told people already that it's an activity. To be active about it, it's when you're being patient, you're still being proactive, to build that into your self-talk, to build that into your trading plans, to make it a part of your trading plan, to make it a part of your technical analysis, is to be patient. Thanks so much, TradeSpawn, for gifting 5 memberships to the channel. People will, of course, be very, very grateful. We've got the likes of Bundan Barb, great to see you. Don't know your name, good to meet you, my friend. Dragonfly, excellent. It's good to see you there getting a membership. I Print Money, that's cool, nice to meet you, my friend. Andrew O, that's excellent. And Charlotte, there you are, you've got a membership now, Charlotte, so you could go and check out my old videos and they will be beneficial to you, I'm very sure. How cool is that? See Dragonfly in there celebrating. Just waiting for the dings to stop. They'll stop in a second. Got one from Lepton, so you got 5 for others. Look at that, paying it forwards, trade spotting. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much, Lepton, as well for being a part of that chain. That's great. Other people can pay it forwards to other people as well on the channel. That'd be really appreciated by them, mostly, you know, as well, because there's a heck of a lot of value on my channel, massive amount of value for people, and that's a really great way of giving back to the community. So thanks so much to everybody that does that. The next big point here is specifically when you're in a trade, manage your emotions. Okay, manage your emotions. Don't just let your emotions manage you, but you should manage your emotions. Emotions can lead to impulsive and irrational decisions. It's important to manage your emotions during trading and to not let them dictate your actions. For example, if you're feeling anxious about a trade, take a break. Come back to it later when you're in a calmer state of mind. That thing's gone ding more than 5 times, hasn't it? I wonder if it's going to stop going ding because it's interrupted me. So that should be right. So, hey folks, by the way, if you do as well want to get any questions in or anything like that, then fire them away and we'll have a questions section during the show. And I've got one more tip to read out just here in terms of this little specific when you're in a trade section. And then we'll have another little break in just a second. So it's a good time to do all of that, just letting you all know. And learn from your mistakes. No trader is perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. No one is perfect. In fact, having a positive relationship with yourself involves understanding what it is that makes you imperfect and trying to be very good instead, because perfect is impossible. And if you aim to be perfect, you will fail. And it will be something which you will then feel a sense of failure about. Listen to me when I say this. This is another phrase from my channel that I give people all the time. And I should say it more often than I do. It was one of the big things in the first couple of years of making YouTube videos, though, it was definitely the first year doing making YouTube videos. I probably said it every day, is that that there's no such thing as being perfect. And the perfect ambition is to be very good. Now, being very good is absolutely achievable. In fact, it's within your grasp right now. But being perfect, that's not possible. It's just not possible, okay? So instead, the perfect ambition is to be very good. Now, aim to be very good and learn from your mistakes. No trader is perfect. Losses are inevitable. It's important to learn from your mistakes and to use them as opportunities to improve your trading strategy. For example, if you made a bad trade, review what went wrong and adjust your strategy accordingly to avoid making the same mistake again, right? Now, you know, that's a mistake. Now, having a trade go against you is a statistical likelihood and it's a statistical guarantee that that will happen at some times, because anything can happen at any time in markets. So it's guaranteed to happen at some point. Especially the longer that you're in the game for, you know, and the more trades you take, then the more you're going to have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable in that particular form. And when you review these trades and you write them down in your trading journal and you look over them in the past, or you see the record in your profit and loss on your trading account, wherever you re-encounter this trade again, you're going to have to remember to engage in positive self-talk, to know that every failure has an opportunity for learning. Every mistake is an opportunity to cut something out of your game that might catch you again in the future, and that this is a positive experience which is going to involve failure by definition. Losses are inevitable. It is impossible to be perfect. That the perfect ambition is to be very good. That the failed person's ambition is to be perfect. Now, the road to being very good is a long one, and along that road there are dozens and dozens, infinite amounts of corpses of people lying there who failed at their ambition of becoming perfect. It's the same road that you go along, except for them there's no final destination, whereas for you there is a reward at the end of that journey. Okay. Right. Another quick break so that people can have get themselves, boil the kettle, make a cup of tea, do whatever you need to do there, and we'll be back in just a second. Woo! Okay, so we're just having a quick break just so that people can make themselves a cup of tea, do whatever they need to do to get their heads focused and all that. We just ran over 5 tips for when you're actually trading, to be specific about trading for people. So those are 5 tips. I think they're quite useful tips. They're tips you might feel like you already knew, but let's just remind you about them, because you know the truth is that until you articulate these things to yourself, it's not really fair to give yourself the award of saying that you knew them. So if they were, stick to your trading plan, use technical analysis, actually use it. Don't just say you know technical analysis and because you know it you don't have to use it. Actually use it. That's a really good tip for people, especially the better and better that they get. Actually do the technical analysis. So then be patient, manage your emotions, and learn from your mistakes. You know, when you do the technical analysis, it's an activity where you actually have to mindfully engage with the charts. So that's what that's all about. Okie dokie. It's can be meditative and stuff like that. So before we started today's show, I put a poll up there asking people if they use positive self-talk. 71% of people say that they do deliberately use positive self-talk. 22% of people said that they don't, and 6% of people abstained. I think that the truth of it is, if you're really honest with yourselves, folks, 71% is probably a high number. And then again, it is the Rocky Outcrop show, where a lot of people here have gone over similar lessons, because like you know, like I say, a lot of these things are things that I talk about all the time to people anyway. So maybe you do positive self-talk and I've kind of already influenced you in some way or another. But just so you know, folks, it's okay to be kind of honest about that, and to maybe say that you don't use positive self-talk. That's totally fine. These things, we all, you know, I think using positive self-talk is a decision that you need to make every day. It's not just something that you just do, you know. And if you think that, and if you do naturally have a positive disposition and you naturally talk to yourself positively, that isn't what I'm even talking about. I'm talking about, do you actually deliberately, and that was a question, part of the question there, deliberately, do you do it on purpose? Do you actually, you know, go out of your way to be positive to yourself, as opposed to just have a natural sunny disposition? 71% of people, it seems like a high number in that poll, but I'll not, you know, disbelieve it. We did have 100 people take part. So, right, we're back here for this one. Just let me know, put a 1 in the chat if you've been getting something from the show so far today. If it's getting you thinking in the way that you can help, if it's helping you, just let me know by checking a 1 in the chat there. I want to see that happen. And I want to just, again, throw out a thank you to the people who've done gifts for people. And if you want to do any more, if anybody wants to do that right now, there's a good time to do it during the sort of little kind of break that we're having. Thanks to XD for doing it there earlier on. Thanks to TradeSpotting, and thanks to Shadow of Lepton, who did 5. And a big shout out to CC there, who did a bit of flair earlier on, wishing David Stevens a happy birthday. So happy birthday, David Stevens. I see you in the chat, and thanks for joining us for today's show. Happy birthday. It's great to be there as part of your birthday. Thanks very much for that. Yeah, great, excellent. We're seeing that people are getting stuff from the show, getting a lot of 1s out there from people. They're getting something from the show. Great stuff, says Uboogie. Yes, you boogie. And Purpley Outside 1, Banana Fridge 1, J Quack 1, CC 1, Schwartz 1, Dragonfly, XD, vis-a-vis, Dosa Dose, TradeSpotting, excellent. Lots of 1s. Right, so in the next little section, what we're going to talk about is ways to improve your self-talk as traders, and helpful tips that we can follow to improve your talk. CC says, I tell myself every time I listen to these shows, I'm going to understand this, I'm going to get better. Excellent, CC. That's positive self-talk right there. And hopefully these shows are really helping you with that. It's not hard to keep these lessons in mind, says TradeSpotting. It definitely isn't, and there's not too many of them. I hope I'm not overwhelming anybody. We're going through this in a nice pace, an easy pace to kind of settle with you. So that's good. I want to see some more likes on from people. If you've not hit like already, hit like on this video. It's appreciated. And I want to see people engaging in the chat when I ask a question, if you can. So that, I mean, just to tell me if you know, just to engage, that'd be appreciated. So just letting everybody know. Excellent stuff. Let's get back to it then, shall we? Well, actually, I'll give everybody just a second, because I know how long it takes to make a cup of tea, and you might not be done just yet. 30 seconds, and we'll be back on the horse. Back on the horse. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. Pharaoh liked it twice. You might need to like it a third time. Odd number likes. Everybody, odd number likes. Okay, let's get back to it then. Right, so here we want to talk about ways that you can improve your self-talk, right? So everybody does actually talk to themselves. I think this is something which we've covered. A lot of people will talk to themselves positively. A lot of people talk to themselves negatively, but there's another third way, where you deliberately talk to yourself and you become aware of your self-talk. So the very first step that you need to take when improving your self-talk is actually to become aware of it. This is kind of what was the opening sentence for me today, really, that led on from the last week's show. We talked about awareness in last week's psychology and trading show, talking about the awareness of the markets, awareness of yourself, and then this is to take that another layer deeper into your own psychology and to become aware of your own inner voice, aware of the tone that it uses. Is it talking to you in that strict headmistress way, or is it talking to you like a caring grandfather voice? Is it talking to you, like a coach and saying, "Go on, son, you can do this"? What is the tone of voice, and what is the content of that inner voice as well? Now, we also talked about how it could be fragmented pictures and things like that, but there is one there. And what does it actually say? And to add to that as well, how do you feel when that is happening? Is there an emotional taxation which occurs to you during the period of this self-talk? Now, to put that into perspective, if you were thinking about things like hope, so you've got a trade in a market that's going sideways, and you think to yourself, I really hope that this trade works out well. It might be like that, the way that you think it. Or it could be that you think it along the lines of, oh, I really hope this trade works out well. And it could come with a degree of emotional anxiety and a tightening that would occur inside you, where you're experiencing this almost your inner thoughts, almost on a physical level as well. And I wanted to make people aware of the fact that they have an inner voice, even if they're not using that to help themselves, and that inner voice, even if they're not consciously using that inner voice knowingly, still has an emotional taxation on them, and that when it happens without you controlling that inner voice, there's a greater emotional toll on you, which can also lead to a greater physical toll on you during the trading day and over your trading career. So if you're the type of person who trades equities on a stock market like the New York Stock Exchange, and then it gets to Friday evening and you feel a degree of being exhausted, but you don't know where that energy has gone to, that you know that you were trading and that you know that you're glad it's the weekend to have a bit of time to yourself, but you haven't put two and two together and thought about where that taxation was occurring at, I would like to ask you to become aware of your self-talk. Once you become aware of your self-talk, you will be able to challenge negative self-talk, because you need to identify it, and then after you've identified it, challenge it. Ask yourself whether the thought is true or whether there is another way to look at the situation. Remember that many of the things that we worry about never come to pass, and much of our negative self-talk is exaggerated. So, for instance, that example of seeing a support line and how prices bounced off it a few times from earlier on that we gave during the moment of trading, you might be looking at that already in a trade and saying to yourself things like, oh, I really hope it doesn't bounce off that line. Oh, it's going to bounce off that line. Oh, I'm so stupid for having entered this trade. I knew I shouldn't have entered this trade here where I did enter this trade. This is another bad example of my bad, and you're giving yourself negative self-talk. That's going to tax you so much. And you should already have got risk management procedures in place where you don't need to go through that process, that you're wasting that energy there, and that you should just let it come to pass. And it may never even work out the way that your negative thoughts imagine that it could. So once you've identified them and been able to identify, once you've become aware of them, being able to identify the positive and the negative thoughts, and you've begun a process of challenging your negative self-talk, you're also going to want to be able to put all of your thoughts into perspective and trying and looking at things from that different angle to get a different approach vector to the same thing. So ask yourself whether your worrying about something will matter in a few years' time. Write down your thoughts or say them out loud and put them into perspective. So the trade that you're taking at the time can cause a great deal of emotional anxiety, and that emotional anxiety could be huge. It could be as big as any emotional anxiety that you have in your life. But it's just something that you do on the daily, and you might do this 10 times a day, and it's not like you're getting married, we're in a way, if you have this emotional anxiety about getting married and it's all the big day and do you look well and will you remember to take the ring or whatever, that's all part and parcel of like looking back on that day and remembering the wholeness of it and saying how there was this one event which does matter to you in a few years' time, or the birth of a child or any big event that could happen. I'm just using examples, typical examples from life, where in a few years' time you look back, could be your finals on your university exams, or it could be anything, and you look back afterwards and you think to yourself, well, that was a period where I experienced anxiety. But if you're doing that to yourself every single day with trading, and it isn't like something that's going to matter to you in a few years' time, you're not even going to remember the trade, unless you look back at your trading journal and you see it written down there. Until you actually see it there, then you shouldn't actually have that emotional hangover as a cause from it. So put your thoughts into perspective. As a trader, you're going to be doing this an awful lot. This is not the biggest deal in your life. This is not whether or not you remember to take the wedding ring to your wedding, or you've or if you've forgotten it or whatever. This is instead your job, and that losses and failure and components of the job are inherently negative, but they're just the components of the job which are part of the overall whole, and that you shouldn't attach a massive degree of anxiety to them and things like that. To put things into perspective, you're then going to want to stop the negative thoughts, okay? You can stop the negative thoughts when you're having them. You can try and use a visualization, for example, to stop negative thoughts. Imagine the thought being stopped or squashed. This is why I put my hand up like that. Alternatively, develop a ritual to interrupt the thought. For instance, putting your shoulders back, taking a deep breath. And a very, very popular and common way to do this is that modern psychologists and stuff in America talk about, is to count down in your head: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And by doing this, it's, naturally, if I ask somebody to count, just count for me, start counting now. They'll start and they'll go 1, 2, 3. That's what you do when you start counting. But when you count backwards, just like, when you're going into surgery and they ask you to count back from 100, it's counting backwards is a different way of thinking. It's just not what actually comes naturally to us, as opposed to counting up the way. So count backwards from 5, you'll stop the negative thought. So it could be anything that you do, whatever works for you, start doing it and crush those negative thoughts before they have a chance to take root. Once you've crushed the negative thought, though, you're going to be in a place where you're needing to fill that void. It's just like when they take out the top gangster and there's a power vacuum at the top. You're really going to need to replace that negative thought with something else. When you are practicing mindfulness, which is a great thing to do. It's a tip I might give as part of my set of tips in here, but it's just something that I want to talk about. In fact, if you can see behind me, I've got a few books over there. I've got 3 books sat behind me about mindfulness, which I'm reading at the minute. Books about mindfulness. You can you're trying to achieve a zone of kind of, you know, where you're allowing your thoughts to happen without and you're and achieving a sense of peace and equilibrium within yourself, right? Now, that's great and that's good, and if you can do that as part of this process and you're practiced in that meditative way, then brilliant, good on you. But I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about crush that negative thought and replace it with a positive. Replace the negative thought with a positive or a neutral one. So once you've stopped the negative thought, replace it and ask yourself what a more helpful thought would be. What would a constructive thought? What's the way of reframing the thing that I just thought would be? How can I think about this in a positive way? In fact, that very thought in and of itself is reframing and replacing the negative thought. So you get something come along saying, oh, I'm a failure. Stop, crush that, crush it, take a deep breath. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I just thought to myself a negative thought, but how could I think about that in a constructive and positive way? There are things that I could be doing better right now. What are they? I should do a bit of technical analysis. I should use risk management. If I stop, I don't need to worry about this thought that I'm having. It may never even come to pass. I need to rely on my skills as a trader and iteratively improve over time. I'm not at the end of my road of becoming very good, very, 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 very good. I'm not aiming for perfection, but I am on the road, and this is what the road looks like. Okay, big deal. That's what you should do. And then you should practice positive self-talk. So practicing positive self-talk takes time and effort. Identify your strengths and achievements and use them to counter negative self-talk. Surround yourself with positive and optimistic people who can support you in your trading journey. Now, you should do that, and the Discord that I've set up is exactly that, and you'll find that this sort of the culture and the society that we've set up there, you know, it's a very hands-on thing, which I've spent years building. It's in its 3rd year of life at the moment now, but it took many years of practicing top-down culture management myself personally to get to a point where there's an exceedingly caring environment there. And I was talking to numerous people about this recently, that it's really, really rare, you know, and most of the people that are in the trading community have been in or are also in other trading communities out there currently, and there is no comparison between them and what we have with where I control the culture, which is a positive, caring culture because of this exact thing, because we are the rising tide. So you should definitely do that. But, you know, you should do that in your life as well in general. You should identify what your triggers are amongst other people, and if other people are not, you know, if you need to have some people in your life but they're not positive, that's okay. Just be aware of, you know, what's going on and where they are, and practice the positive self-talk. So practice it. It takes time, it takes effort, and then identifying your strengths and your achievements will really help you counter that negative self-talk. You know, it's just the simple thing of like, no, you know, crush the thought, push it down, think to yourself, hey, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, replace the negative thought. What with? Well, this is replacing the negative thought is practicing the positive self-talk at that moment, and and one of the best ways to replace that negative thought is to think of your achievements, you know, to think, no, you know, I made $500 yesterday and I did really well then, and I did it using the same skills that I'm using today, that these skills that I'm using and I'm building here are permanent, and that they are not defined by just one hiccup, and that's what risk management is all about. And that risk to reward on a trade, if it was something like, say for example, 2.5 to 1 reward for risk, means that you will experience numerous instances where you have to give up that one of the risk element time and again as part of the overall statistic. Otherwise, it wouldn't be 2.5 to 1. It would just be 2.5, sort of thing. It's a ratio, so that maths doesn't make sense there. But you get the point that I'm making, which is that risk to reward isn't just that you only ever experience the reward side of it, that it's actually about how that pans out over time. And I was talking about this in the Discord recently as well, that you could have two traders, one with a risk to reward strategy of 10 to 1 and one with a risk to reward strategy of 1.5 to 1. And over the course of the year, they could find that the 10 to 1 risk to reward trader took many more losses than the 1.5 to 1 because the probability of their trades working out are so much less. But both of them could be equally consistent as traders and have an equal outcome to their accounts at the end of the year, and that neither one of them is necessarily better. Although the person who has the 10 to 1 will occasionally be able to show a big rewarding trade, they'll also have to suffer many losses that go along to make up that, to become something rather than just an isolated statistic, to be consistent over time. But when you do that, you create achievements which you can then use as your aegis, if you like, your shield against negative self-talk. We're going to take another break in a second here now then, ladies and gents. Just made it through that chunk there. Replace the negative self-talk and practice positive self-talk. Okay, so positive self-talk is an essential tool for traders looking to improve their mental health and performance, right? So it's both, like I said, the two things are tied together, mental health and performance. By becoming aware of our self-talk, challenging negative thoughts, and practicing positive self-talk, we can build resilience, maintain our focus, and achieve our trading goals. So we're going to take another break in a couple of minutes, or for a couple of minutes, folks. I was going to read out this donation that came in, $50 from Lisa, and it's really appreciated. That's a massive donation. It's really kind of you to do that. Thank you so much. Thanks, Rocky, says vis-a-vis here. Thanks, Rocky, for shining a light on an issue I've been more aware of this past year, but not proactively addressing, despite knowing the impact it can have on trading and well-being. Well, thank you so much for being so generous and kind back the way. I really do appreciate you massively. You're such a wonderful person, and I really appreciate you, as I appreciate everybody out there in the community as well. So thank you so much to all of you. But really big thank you to you, Lisa, for having been so supportive today and all the time that you're supportive. I really do appreciate it. Okay, folks. Let's take a little break here. I'll get to a second to look at that message some more and enjoy the fact that somebody out there in the world thinks I'm great for doing what we're doing here. Thanks for shining a light. That's so fantastic. Thank you for doing that. And we'll just have a quick break for a second. Okay, folks? Back in a minute. When we come back, right, what we're going to be talking about will be a few quotes from traders out there who have and from philosophers with regards to this issue, right? Okay, that's what we're going to be talking about. A couple of quotes and stuff like that. We've really covered the main body of what we've got here, and we're going to start kind of taking a look at some other people's thoughts on this topic. Thanks for everybody for tuning in and for watching, and make sure you come back in just a second and continue with what we're doing as we take the show through to the end of this evening. How cool is that, though? That's really awesome of you to have done that. Goes there with Komodosh's one. Hopefully people found a good value in the answer I was given to Komodosh as well with regards to using these online prop firms and what you can get from them. Right. So I'm just giving everybody a minute to go to the toilet and to use the bathroom, make themselves a cup of tea, whatever they need to do. Give everybody a second to do that. There's been a pullback in cryptocurrency as well. Just you might have noticed that this evening. Anybody trading it, and like there's probably going to be plenty of other things happening in the world of that. But you can see this big pullback. There's this Bitcoin versus USD. Yeah, is this us versus gold? Why have we got that? Big pullback this evening. It's pulled back down to the 4-hour 50 period simple moving average. So that was a natural pullback, but that might have been a time when people kind of, would have needed to have used risk management. You can see how there was a big drop down there, and not having done so would have left people on the wrong side of that trade. So this is the sort of thing that could be relevant to people who are trading crypto, for example, this evening. I know that the equities markets have closed. It's just kind of, saying that this is something that happens all the time. It might be relevant to people right here, right now. Kitties, $10. Thank you, Rocky. Thank you, Kitties. That's awesome. Very kind of you. And you're more than welcome, my friend. I'm really glad that I can kind of, provide some sort of value here for you. I really do appreciate the donation. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you. Okay. That was good. Thanks for people who were using the break period there to send any chat stuff in that they were going to do. And let's get back to it. So some quotes here then from people who've been in the game. Whoops. Is this showing up? Oh, yeah, it is, yeah. Some quotes here for some traders, from traders and philosophers. So you can see Marty Schwartz there. Marty Schwartz, very famous, very famous trader. I have learned through the years that after a good run of profits in the markets, it's very important to take a few days off as a reward. The natural tendency is to keep pushing until the streak ends, but experience has taught me that a rest in the middle of a streak can often extend it. That is knowing yourself and knowing how to talk to yourself during the moment, to stay positive, to push that positivity as long as possible, but not until the positivity ends, but as a means of trying to carry that positivity into another streak of positive results. And you're going to have to be self-aware and talk to yourself during that whole period of time to kind of stay involved in your in your own trading, to stay aware of it, to stay present in your own trading. Your success will depend in part on your character and guts, and in part on your ability to realize at the height of ebullience and the depth of despair alike that this too shall pass. I think everybody's heard that, Jack Boogie. Everybody's heard a Bogle. As everybody's heard the "this too shall pass" idea, but is success in comes from being able to recognize at the times whenever you're experiencing success, and at the times when you're experiencing despair, that both of them will pass. And that goes back to that idea of the 10-to-1 risk reward trader, that during that moment when they're winning and they've got that 10-to-1 trade is in the bag, they're going to think to themselves that every trade is going to be like this. And then they open up the next one and it's a loser, and they think, oh no, I am a bad trader. That would be negative self-talk. Instead, they need to realize when they're in the positive mindset that there will be negative times, and to take advantage and to be present in that moment of the positivity, and to give them that momentum to carry on and get through all of the permutations of the trades that come out of their strategy. So as somebody who knows that I like to take trades that are somewhere between 2.5 to 4 to 5 to 1. Depends really, because I often look for 5 to 1 setups, and then I'll take 30% of my trade off, at around about 2 to 2.5 to 1. So it depends on what perspective you put on that overall trade there. That's kind of around about my risk tolerance, and what works, or at least is working for me at the moment and has done for the last few years, in terms of being happy to take those trades, which means that I need to be aware that I could go through a period of 3 or 4 losses in a row, and not to allow that to impact on my psychology. And a good way to do that, to combat that, is to engage in positive self-talk and to squash out the negative self-talk, replace it with a positive one, and then proactively continue that as part of my routine and part of my trading plan. When I get hurt in the market, I get the hell out. It doesn't matter at all where the market is trading. I just get out, because I believe that once you're hurt in the market, your decisions are going to be far less objective than they are when you are doing well. If you stick around when the market is severely against you, sooner or later, they are going to carry you out, said Randy McKay, or Randy Mackay. Don't know how you pronounce his surname, to be honest with you. But Randy there is telling us that from his perception, from his perspective, that he knows himself that once he gets hurt in the market, that his perception of opportunity, his ability to do the analysis and to get the results in the market, is then diminished. So he takes himself out of that situation. That isn't something that I'm saying that everybody needs to do. You could be the type of person who sticks with the trade and stays in the market, knowing sticks with your trading system and stays in the market, knowing that during the day you're going to have a couple of trades that go against you, and you're going to have some trades that go for you, and that those numbers might work out to be around about the same amount, but that the overall reward compared to that risk is so much greater that you're generating profits and growing your account and being a consistent profitable trader. And that might involve staying in the market even though you've been in a bad trade. And the key, I suppose, is to avoid that feeling of hurt, or to be able to contextualize any hurt that you're getting in the market through this process of self-awareness. And that's that resilience I was talking about earlier on. Now, it could also be the case that you absolutely agree with what Randy is saying here in that quote, and that you think to yourself, look, that's just something that I need to start doing, in which case, all power to you. Go ahead and do what Randy does. It's all about knowing yourself, having that relationship with yourself to be able to get the best out of the markets and your engagement with the markets. The greatest discovery of my generation is that a human being can alter his life by altering his attitude, said William James. And we only trade really to kind of alter our lives for the positive, and we need to have a positive mental attitude to be able to get the best out of trading and to be able to develop our skills to be able to diminish the negative aspects. So as a quick reminder to folks, you learn less when you're scared. You make worse decisions when you're experiencing fear or hurt or anger or any of these negative emotions. Whereas whenever you're in a good place, then you are the most receptive to opportunity, and you will take the most advantage out of anything that comes your way. So with that in mind, you will know this already, and I am just making you aware of the fact that you will get positive outcomes from having a positive input in your thought processes. And that's the greatest discovery of William James's generation there. The only way to change our lives is by changing our minds, said Mr. or Mrs. Unknown, as we don't actually know who it was that said that one, but that's a good quote. The only way to change our lives is by changing our minds, and I think that starts every day you start your trading day, and then throughout your trading day as you go through it, and then whenever you're reviewing your trades at the end of the day as well, is that you're always evolving and growing as a trader, and it's the same for me, and I've been trading for years and years, and if you're just new to trading, it'll be the same definitely for you, that you are growing as a trader, and your mind and your process and your experiences and your perceptions are all evolving along the way as you grow as a trader. And it's something that we should be proactive about, and that we are here to try and change our lives for the better, all of us. And this is a process of changing our minds, and it's just kind of just was relevant for the whole idea of self-talk. Now, going back to one of the Greeks here, as a big name, big hitter quote person here, we have Epictetus. Epictetus. That's almost like a name from The Life of Brian or something. Some sort of big busty fellow, Epictetus. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. That's a phrase which is carried through the ages, and we all can agree to it. I think we all subscribe to that idea that it isn't really about what happens to you, it's about how you react that matters. And your self-talk, your attitudes are the first start of any behavior then that comes as a result of what happens. So you're not going to ever just take one trade, you're going to be taking lots of trades, and as a result of that, there's going to be things that you feel like are happening to you, or are happening to your trading account, or are happening to the trades that you take, or are happening to the markets, and the markets are having some effect which then you need to respond to. And the opportunity is going to come in that you're going to be in the best place to respond to things, and you're going to make the best decisions and respond in the best way. And the way to get access to that is at the very, very genesis of all of this, and it comes in your thoughts, and your inner self-talk is where you've got the most control over that whole process. So talking to yourself throughout the period when you're taking the trade, and as the results of what's happening in the world, or what's happening to you, or what's happening to your trade, or what's happening to the markets, whatever way you want to kind of characterize it, as you're processing that information, if you're also concurrently talking to yourself in a positive way, then you are at that moment going to start the whole chain of the next series of events off in a positive place, where you're able to capitalize on that opportunity that's coming up next to the most effective way. So it's never what happens to you, but always how you react to it that matters. And you'll start to compound that positively by creating more and more and more positive outcomes as a result of having your positive thoughts interjected in there through a process of self-talk, that you'll get then more and more opportunity to react to positive things, as opposed to having to react to negative things, or just a mixed bag. And then big old Marcus Aurelius is a fantastic person to get quotes from. So let's get one of his quotes here, which is relevant to us. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Therefore, guard accordingly, and take care that you entertain no notions unsuitable to virtue and reasonable nature. By Marcus Aurelius from back in the day. Your happiness, your life, depends on the quality of your thoughts. The quality of your thoughts is going to be influenced by things like your upbringing, your education, your context right now, your physical and mental health. All these things are going to impact the quality of your thoughts. But the biggest lever that you have on the quality of your thoughts is your own ability to engage with your thoughts for a more productive and positive outcome. That's through a process of self-talk. Now, if you get this right, it doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter what your context is. It doesn't matter what your education is. It doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter what kind of natural advantages that you had in life or disadvantages. You will have the best outcomes because you are proactively making sure that you've got the quality thoughts happening. All of us born today are born with many advantages, such as the ability to buy toilet paper out of a supermarket at the same time as buying fruit and vegetables and fish and chips. Now, Marcus Aurelius didn't have any of these opportunities, okay? No matter how successful he was in his own life, he never had the ability to just go round to Starbucks, pick up a coffee from beans that were growing in the South America, ground that day, and then drive on through to the supermarket and pick, you know what I'm saying? That we've got innumerable opportunities right now to have positive quality of thoughts, and that for most people the minimum standard of life that we have here includes in it built-in opportunities for life. So don't be saying to yourself that there's something preventing you from having the same access to a happiness in your life as what Marcus Aurelius had, because as in stand on the shoulders of giants here and take this lesson, because your happiness in life does depend on the quality of your thoughts. And if Marcus Aurelius could have snapped his fingers and swapped his life for yours right now, then he would be able to capitalize on the context of your life massively. So can you do the same thing? Because Marcus Aurelius would do that if he was teleported into your body right now. So just do that. Be that person for yourself. Oh, a boogie. Thanks so much for the 1244, man. I wonder if that's a currency conversion thing there. That's such an unusual number, but thank you so much, man. 1244, massively appreciated. Thank you, you boogie. And Minner, wow, amazing, man. Thank you so much for donating $10. Thank you, Rockstar. So glad you're back doing weekly shows. Many have missed you, friend. Man, thanks so much. Speaking there on behalf of many people. Thank you so much for that. That's really appreciated. How cool are those people? Thank you so much. Really, really do appreciate it. So that's it. So that brings us through to the kind of final sort of section of the show here. I've got 5 questions to ask people towards the end of the show here, which you can see on the screen just at the bottom, and this kind of this period here, this piece here to talk us out with along the way here. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to come back in a couple of seconds here, just take a minute for people who need to go to the toilet, just a 1 minute break here, a short break here, and we'll go through this last page of the show today, and then we'll finish off by asking people these questions, but we'll not do the questions just yet. I've got that chunk to go through, so just 1 minute, and I'll just say a quick shout out to the people then, I suppose, during this little period here. Minner, thank you so much. Boogie, thank you so much. Kitties, thank you so much. Komodosh, thank you as well. And Lisa, thank you. Wow, with the stonking big $50 donation, super kind and generous of you. All of you people out there are massively appreciated, so thanks very much to everybody. And another 30 seconds here for people to get themselves a glass of water or go for wee. Today for me, it skipped raining and went straight to storms. Fighting the negative self-talk all day, no sense in becoming overwhelmed, just gotta weather the storm. When everything goes wrong, I just laugh it off because it could always be worse. Jake, that's right, that's it could always be worse. But also as well, like, these are opportunities that in the future you'd you might even want, like, or you might look back on with fondness as well. It's times where you get to spend a little bit longer with the people that you live with and you love, that are nearby, perhaps, or there's other ways of looking at the same thing positively. So there's ways of reframing things positively. It's also an opportunity for you to kind of take stock. It's an opportunity to look forward. A reminder whenever it's not raining that you're going to want to get the most out of it. You're going to be lying around all day doing nothing, sitting around on your bum when it's sun is shining outside. You think to yourself, just have to remember that there are days in the year that you live through where you don't have those opportunities. So make sure you kind of you slot this into its appropriate context. Okay, so you're back. We're back here. We'll do this, and we'll bring the show through to the conclusion. Okay, we're not quite there yet, but we'll get there soon enough, and then we can reflect. I've got a few questions I want to ask everybody, and do stay tuned to this show, because I'll be sharing with you the link over to Jamie's show later on, and we'll be hopping over there, and I'll be joining the chat box, and I'll be becoming, just the same, just like all of you, standing shoulder to shoulder with everybody in a chat box. So can't wait to get down off the old soapbox here, I suppose, and be a part of the crowd with everybody together. Let's do this. Self-talk plays a critical role in risk management during trading. The way traders talk to themselves can significantly impact their ability to manage risk effectively. The inner dialogue that takes place can either promote or hinder sound risk management practices. For example, when a trader is faced with a loss, negative self-talk can lead to making impulsive decisions that can compound the loss. Negative self-talk might include thoughts such as, "I always make bad trades," or "I am a terrible trader." These thoughts can trigger emotions like fear, panic, frustration, which can lead to irrational behavior. On the other hand, positive self-talk can help traders stay focused and disciplined in managing risk. Positive self-talk can include thoughts such as, "I am following my plan," or "I am managing my risk effectively." These thoughts can help traders stay calm and rational when faced with losses, and make logical decisions about how to manage their positions. In addition to self-talk, risk management during trading also involves implementing sound practices, such as setting stop losses, taking profits, waiting for good entry points. These practices are essential to help traders minimize losses and maximize profits, but they require discipline and patience. For example, a trader might set a stop loss at a certain price point to limit their losses. If the market moves against the position and the stop loss is triggered, the trader may be tempted to immediately re-enter the market in the hopes of making back the losses. However, this impulsive decision could result in further losses. Positive self-talk can help the trader stay disciplined and patient, reminding them that sticking to their plan is the best way to manage risk. They just stopped out of a trade because they planned to not be in a trade if the markets went to that price. But I think everybody here will experience a situation where they then immediately reopen the same trade as if their original stop loss had no meaning beyond the point at which it was triggered. Positive self-talk can interject during that process and remind you that you had a plan and that you were sticking to it, and that patience before you take the trade when you're waiting for the good entry to come to you, and patience after you close the trade and not acting impulsively, always doing the tips we spoke about earlier, such as doing your technical analysis again at that point, will lead to far greater planned, managed, statistical positive outcomes, which you can then iteratively improve upon. In conclusion, self-talk is a critical component of risk management during trading. Traders must be aware of their inner dialogue and strive to maintain a positive mindset that promotes sound risk management practices. By implementing a disciplined approach and using positive self-talk, traders can effectively manage risk and increase their chances of success in the markets. You want to be able to manage the risk and not let risk manage you. You want to be able to control your inner thoughts and not let your inner thoughts control you. It only takes a few simple steps of positive, deliberate action to transform your entire trading career, such that the quality of your thoughts will dictate the quality of your trading life. There we go. Excellent. Thanks so much, TradeSpawn, for the good points. That's good. That's cool. So that's us kind of up towards the end here. So I've got a few questions for you to ask you now that we've done all of that. Okay, so it's quite a lot of information, and it was a lot of introspection and all the rest of it during it as well. So after learning about the power of self-talk in trading, are you willing to try incorporating more positive self-talk into your trading practice? Give me a 1 if you are willing to incorporate more positive self-talk into your trading practice. Okay? Or a 2 if you're not. A 2 if you're not. 1 if you are, 2 if you aren't. So I want to see if people are, after what we talked about today, are you willing to do it, to do it deliberately and add it to your trading game? And not just, I suppose really the truth of it is it's not just more of it. Are you willing to try and take on the challenge of aiming to grow towards consistently always engaging in deliberate, mindful, present, aware self-talk to get the positive outcomes from it? It's not just in order to be more positive or to just have a better perspective or a better attitude or enjoy life more or any of that sort of stuff, in a sort of vague, poorly defined way. What we talked about today is directly relating specifically to your trading, and specifically how self-talk can improve or perhaps even damage, if it's not controlled and just happens impulsively, your trading. So that's what I'm asking you right now. Are you willing to do that? And I'm seeing a heck of a lot of 1s in the chat box, and that's fantastic. So I want to ask people then, and this is a more qualitative answer. So what was the most helpful tip that you learned about using self-talk and trading from today's chat? If anybody could write some of them in the chat box, that would be massively appreciated. We can see what specifically helped people. What was it that was most helpful for you? If there was anything that stood out, it'd be cool if you could let me know. As well. And here's another question. If you don't have an answer to that one, I'll ask this other sort of qualitative question just here. How do you think self-talk can impact your overall success in trading? So what was the most important thing from today's show that stood out for you, and how do you think that you can how do you think it's going to impact your overall success? Are you going into this with a sort of, I'll try it and see how it goes, just a positive feeling, but at the same time without any real expectations? You could have a positive feeling of like, well, I'm going to give it a shot and see what happens. Or do you think that maybe perhaps self-talk is really just the missing part of your trading, because this is all to do with the psychology of trading and your traders, and this is a show about the psychology of trading for traders. So are you thinking that this is maybe the missing ingredient, that's all you need to take you from sort of plateauing out as a trader who's got some experience, who's trading fairly well, to go into the point where you can trade really well and actually start really being able to up your game? Might just be the missing ingredient. Look, we see here. So Minner says visualizing to stop negative thoughts. That's a good one. Right, great. Yeah. I think it wasn't just visualizing as well. It was that you can use a physical action. You can visualize to stop negative thoughts, and then as well, when you stop them, you're going to need to replace them with something. So looking back and having some thoughts in your toolkit which you can throw in there, such as, I always use risk management in my trades. This is a discipline. A part of being a successful trader is being a disciplined trader. This is me being a disciplined trader. That means I'm on the way to success. So this is a part of being a successful trader. I am a successful trader. That's the build up of positive thoughts to replace those negative ones just after you've done that exercise and visualizing things. Raphael says being aware of self-talk, right? I think it's great that that's a real headliner, that one, because we've had to, a lot of people, we all have an inner voice. It's just that not necessarily are we aware of that inner voice. Are we listening to that inner voice? Are we engaging with that? And it's okay. You're not mad for talking to yourself. In fact, the successful people of the world do talk to themselves. Like, the quality of your life is going to be determined by the quality of your thoughts. Do you think Marcus Aurelius was just born with the ability to think positive, think well, and have high quality thoughts? Or do you think that he actually engaged in that proactively? David says, step back with patience and objectivity, which is a good one. Jay Quack says, don't be too hard to ourselves if things go wrong. Good one as well. Evaluating your own emotion at a time of taking or exiting a trade and how it is influencing your decision, says Uboogie. That's cool as well. Tradespawn says to always consciously try to be centered and present and focus on the objectives outlined in the plan. That's great. Minner says, a quote here, I can see myself cutting this loss and changing it to a winner. Fantastic, positive. That's great. Yeah, you visualize yourself doing that. That's great. Sarah says, ooh, hypnosis. Dude made a guided self-hypnosis video for trading. I deserve to be wealthy. Great, man. Fantastic. There we go. That's essentially what we're talking about here. Right, great. So this is, maybe I should do that, Sarah. That's a Sarah giving me a tip there. Make a self-hypnosis video. Maybe I should sometime. Final question then to everybody there is, what steps can you take to implement positive self-talk into your trading routine starting today? Okay, so everybody out there, if you've got something that you're going to start doing today, that you're going to start doing, let me know what it is. What are you going to start doing? And I'll just kind of get a couple of things up here from the chat to give you kind of reminders. We had the tips from when in a trade: stick to your trading plan, use technical analysis, be patient, manage your emotions, learn from your mistakes. We've got the kind of the general tips about self-talk overall. Be aware of your self-talk, challenge your negative self-talk, put your thoughts in a perspective, stop the thought, replace the thought, practice positive self-talk. Positive self-talk being an essential tool for your trading, incorporating into your trading plan, to using patience, rewarding yourself for the patience as part of your trading plan, being aware of how you're acting, whether you're acting on impulse, stuff like that. And then I kind of just want to come back to those last couple of questions I had here, to do with how you think about your self-talk, and what does your inner voice sound like whenever you're talking? What does it sound like, and what does it say to you when you're trading, and are those things going to change? That'd be my last question, I suppose, then, just to kind of round us out here, is what is the tone of your inner voice going to be, and is that something that anybody thinks that maybe they'll kind of consider tomorrow or today whenever they're trading? So Lisa says, understanding how an inner dialogue might be interacting with my objectivity in ways I'm not immediately aware of. Well, I think that we're not aware of them at all, even when we try to be. So often we can't be aware of them, which is why it's just like, well, I can't be aware of how these negative thoughts are impacting me. I also can't be aware of how these positive thoughts are impacting me, but I know that negative thoughts impact me negatively, and the outcomes will only be felt and aware of after the fact, and sometimes the positive thoughts, they'll only be aware of after the fact, so the goal here is to cut out the negative self-talk, replace it with positive self-talk, and to then accept the outcomes, because we were aware that the quality of our life is going to be proportional to the quality of our thoughts, and we have control over the quality of our thoughts, and that will give us more control over the quality of our lives. So Lisa says that she needs to challenge it, and CC donated $20. These shows are so impactful, Rocky. Your delivery really helps the messages to resonate. Appreciate you to CC as well. Well, that's it, folks. I mean, I'll stick around for another few minutes here, just in case anybody has any questions they want to ask me, or any of that sort of stuff, so that I can be a part of. I can give you a couple of seconds here. We can be a sort of debrief together anymore if you want to. But just so you know, when I do hit the end stream button, you will be redirected over to Jamie's show, and you'll be in his chat box, and I'll join you there as well, and be in amongst you as we celebrate and take part in the Trade Spotting live show. They're always so good, and I always appreciate them. Yesterday was the GameStop earnings, and Jimmy covered them, and it was a really great, fun stream to be a part of. So I was really glad to have been there with you all. Then XD says, you're never going to be 100% right, so make sure to learn from when you're wrong instead of replacing or sort of repeating the same mistakes. Good tip there, buddy. Good tip indeed, duty. Thanks so much for all your positivity recently across various media, as for instance on Twitter there, and such like as well in the Discord. And I tweeted out a message that you put out there in on the Discord onto my Twitter earlier on today. So thanks very much for all of that. Okay, so yeah, a couple of minutes here, and then I'll say cheerio. Just making sure everybody's got thanks, TradeSpot, thank you very much. Just making sure everybody's had an opportunity to speak and get their be heard. I appreciate and I'm grateful for everybody having been patient for me to get the show started this evening, and as well I'm very, very grateful to TradeSpotting, who's been here waiting patiently to do his own show, as he's been in here taking part as with us this evening. So a really big appreciation to him as well. Don't focus on the negatives. That's right. Good insights. Yep. Is there a possibility to get your notes about positive self-talk to look at in the future, says Jay Quack? Become a part of the Discord community, and I'm going to try and probably put something together for people as well. So there will be a possibility to get some of this. Thanks a lot for the information, brother. You're welcome. Yeah, I'll be trying to put something together for people. I'll probably kind of reformat this a bit and make it a bit more consumable instead of just kind of, you know, splurging them out on the internet somewhere for people to find, and years later wonder, what does any of this mean? It's all kind of fragmented. So I'll have to do a bit of that. I've got to kind of reformat a little bit. But yes, I'll be making these available to people at some point. Great. Okay, TradeSpotting, thank you for being a part of today's show. Thank you, everybody here, as being a part of the Rising Tide. Do indeed take part in the other avenues to communicate more amongst each other and the wider world under the auspices of the Rising Tide by joining the Discord and being a part of my Twitter. I've got daily tweets about Zen approaches to trading. It'll help transform your thoughts into a more positive space for you and give you that best opportunity. Honestly, you should be taking part in my Twitter feed and reading every single one of them that comes out, because it's just, you know, one big headline tweet a day, and I'll have a nice picture there associated with it, nice Zen positive thoughts, and these are the sorts of ways that you can help improve your own self-talk and self-dialogue by being a part of that, and then you can extend that out to the world and bring other people in. Always remember, folks, as well, a friend of yours is a friend of ours. None of us can wait to meet them, you know, so bring them along. The likes of Jay Quack, good to see you, nice to meet your acquaintance and to make a new friend out there. Bring your friends along as well, because I'm sure they'll be really great people too. We can't wait to meet them all, and thank you for being a part of what we do. Going to run the credits then. I have to run the credits on my screen. There we go. Thanks for watching, and then here's a big extra shout out to the people who were donating. So thanks to Vis-a-Vis, CC, Uboogie, Kitties, and Minner and Komodosh for your donations. Thank you to these people who became members. Well, really, I should say thanks to the people who bought them the memberships, really, kind of in a way. But, you know, welcome to the family. You've got Andrew, Charlotte, iPrint Manny, Dragonfly. We've got Jamie as well. Jamie's got a membership here of the channel now. That's so cool. And a few others. I'll read their names real quick here. David, Banana Fridge, Nick, Scott, Nathan, Flip Flapulous. That's great. Good to see you as part of being a member of the channel, Ruby. You can check out the videos. Kevin, Shorta, Jamie, DW, Bundin Barb, Dragonfly, iPrint Money, Andrew, and Charlotte. Thanks again. I'll see you in the next show. Tune in next week for more discussion on psychology for traders. This has been another trading psychology show by a trader who's got real skin in the game, actively trades every single day, for a community of traders who actively trade, as this is a part of our professional career and personal development. And that's what I'll be doing again next week, so tune in for another one of those.